And we are now live. Hey everyone, I am Richard, and this is Macchiato Monsters going through the classic D&D module B4. That is not B4 the word, that is B and the number 4. The Lost City, written by Tom Mulvey long ago in the galaxy far, far away called the 1980s. It is kind of a legend among fans of the classic D&D modules. And I'm hoping that you guys will enjoy us going through it. It is a favorite of Eric Newton, who wrote Macchiato Monsters, and we're really excited to use his system to explore this module. This is a Gauntlet Hangout session, and we will be abiding by the Gauntlet inclusivity policy. And we have both lines and veils and the X card as safety tools. We have some lines and veils set out that we've already covered in a kind of a preset of the game. The players have kind of reviewed how to use the X card. We'll definitely put a link to that on the notes. I would like to take this time to let the players introduce their characters. So I'm going to pass this over to one of the first people I ever played with in the Gauntlet, Tony Hahn, who is playing Denison.
Sure. So Denison is a tall, slender juggler who has big and wavy hair, wears a long ornamental chin on his face. He's optimistic, often seen grinning to himself, and sporting a few more than a couple weapons, such as a bow and arrow, a dagger, and a sword. He's on this journey, he thinks, to entertain, but he's also kind of been a sword for hire in his past endeavors, whether he knows it or not. So.
Nice. And moving over to Morgan playing Yelnara.
So I'm playing Yelnara, who is a gnome magician's assistant, and that means that her work is mostly acquiring all the various artifacts and recipes and ingredients that go into her boss's spells, and usually not acquiring them legally. And she's out trying to acquire something from Professor Hiram, which is too bad currently. And she got separated from her friend Kat, who's a coworker, who's sort of stuck with the rest of the group.
Nice. Going over to Kyle, introducing, Pulmia.
Yes, I'm playing as Pulmia the Geomancer. And so she's trained in sort of understanding ley lines, the energetic flows of the land, and of places, and has magic to sort of do those things. She's been sent by her teacher to find Professor Middlemiss, because they're old drinking buddies from the faculty club. And, well, why not send Pulmia? Because she's got this great capability of finding people, finding things. So she's exercised that and gone through some rather miserable weather and ended up here. In terms of her description, I think she's wearing kind of like these big geomancer robes. This is the big like bow tying up her clothes in the front, and she's got a hat on. But then on top of that, she's like sort of bolted or like strapped on a bunch of like kind of ill-fitting leather armor, and she's got this big battle axe that she inherited from her grandfather. That maybe one of her family members were like, "Oh, you're off going adventuring. You've got to take this battle axe." And so here you go. Like, okay, I got it. Her hair is an unsettling blonde. I think it doesn't quite look right in the light. Like their light is coming from somewhere else. And she has a strange habit of not sleeping facing south ever. And finally, she has lost a donkey with a bunch of effects that were given to her by her teacher, including some very good hobgoblin liquor to pass on to Professor Middlemiss.
That is profoundly unfortunate. Finally, we have Tapay, played by Zach.
Yes, I am playing Tapay. He is a kobold. He's a small, feisty sort of. His scales are sort of like a tarnished bronze, and he is an old sort of tomb raider or grave robber. He deals in trading artifacts, relics, and reliquaries, and he has joined this mission. He's sold some things to Haram in the past and heard about this new expedition and thought that he could maybe get on the action a little bit, maybe make a few coin. Tapay carries a shillelagh with him, and the shillelagh has a fork which he uses to steady his arquebus, his huge musket that is, I think, comically large on him. And he tries to be very like calm and very sensible, but when things get rough, he tends to panic a little bit.
All right. Well, things have gotten rough. Thank you for that great transition. Several days ago, you were all separated from the expedition you were on to find the missing Professor Hiram Middlemiss, a hobgoblin archaeologist. Several of you had connections with Professor Middlemiss. Several of you were just hired because you were good at the kind of thing people on an expedition needed. Who went missing in the Nachtmar Mountains looking for the lost city of Cynidicea, because he was very interested in the religion they professed before the city disappeared or went missing, covered in snow and ice and rocks. The religion of the strange god Zargon. Now, they had other gods before, but they mostly converted to the worship of Zargon just before the city went missing in the snow and ice of the mountains. It was covered by avalanches. Fortunately for your group, the skilled geomancer Pulmia was with you. Unfortunately, Pulmia's magic was very, very focused on Professor Hiram Middlemiss. And when the blizzards started and separated you from the rest of your crew, a few of you had already gotten lost before that, but when the blizzard started and separated you from the rest of the crew, there was no way to refocus that magic and go back. You realize you had come upon the missing city when you realized the rocks around you in the snow and ice were actually, for the most part, the tops of ancient buildings. You'd see the corners of engravings and reliefs. You could see that some of the roads, some of the stones were actually brick. And then you found, amidst the snow and ice, the old temple, which was some sort of ziggurat or pyramid, which you were looking at only the top of, where you saw three statues to three gods who you suspect would not be a strange dark god Zargon. They all looked like fairly standard deities. You saw one who seemed to be some sort of fairly standard father deity holding out scales and a lightning bolt. on the far left. On the far right, you saw a woman holding out a sword with sheaves of wheat wrapped around it. In the middle, you saw a youth, an androgynous-looking youth, holding out a wand and a handful of coins. And that's sort of on top of this sort of ziggurat pyramid. You're not really sure. Most of it's buried in ice beneath you. But in the ice snow that you've walked on has brought you pretty much near the top of it, or at least one level from the top of it. There's still steps going up to those 3 statues. And then you saw under those steps a door that was probably secret at one time, but that Hiram Middlemas clearly found, because you saw his hand sticking out of the snow, the recently fallen snow and ice from the blizzards, reaching up through the snow, and the snow and ice from where his body had blocked the door is sort of piled into whatever hallway or chamber is beyond. And his body seems to have kept whatever hidden door is supposed to be there, or moved sliding wall of some sort, open. But you can't really see much more than his hand or shoulder sort of sticking out of the snow and ice. What do you do?
Well, I think I feel a combination of horror and a sense of relief as my spell is finally resolved. Finally got to our destination. So that's very relieving, because it's been this constant pressure on my mind. But then I'm horrified to see the corpse of the good professor.
Just sort of reaching up through like several feet, or a couple of feet of snow drifts, a little bit of refreeze around his hand. What is it about that hand that tells you this is the professor, even without having to dig?
Oh, I mean, he's definitely got some kind of like faculty ring on that I would recognize from the school.
Yeah. So you see that hobgoblin hand reaching up with the faculty ring on it. What about the rest of you? What are you all doing?
I think Tapay is like, I think Tapay goes, "Oh, that's a shame. You hate to see that. That's just a real shame." And I think starts walking towards Hiram to see if Hiram has any victuals left, or anything that he could eat or use. I think starts walking towards the body.
So you're going to sort of dust the snow aside to try to get a look at it?
Yeah.
So, Tapay, you're dusting the snow aside. Is anybody else doing anything else while Tapay does that?
I think Denison is just going to go up with him, but he's going to not be so much interested in into the body, but like maybe the passageway, and just start like peeking around and seeing if there's any anything laying on the ground or anything like that.
All right. So I'm going to ask you in a second what you're doing for light, but I do want to check with Yelnara.
Yeah, Yelnara's mostly just going to be watching Denison as he kind of handles the body, because she's definitely, she wants to see what Hiram's carrying and make sure that the artifact that she's looking for is maybe not on him.
And Pulmia
isn't.
Yeah. Pulmia, with this sense of relief now, what are you doing as sort of the weight of this unresolved finding spell is lifted from you?
I think there is like that sort of visible relief in my shoulders, but then kind of a sense of confusion because I found the professor. The professor's dead. So what next? And I'm just kind of like standing there dazed while everybody else is going about their business. Maybe kind of idly playing with this bronze statuette that I have in my hand.
And so I'm going to check with Denison.
Yeah.
Hey, but let's. You two, I think you two are going to find an important piece of information at about the right time. Denison, what are you doing for light?
Okay, so currently, the only thing that even comes close to light in my gear is that my mom's sword maybe has a minor magic power, and I was thinking as maybe it's like because it is because it was a kind of like a family heirloom. Only really people that knew the original owner will be able to actually command that light.
So I'm going to say that since you guys were on an expedition, I'm going to use this. I'm going to borrow this. That's also awesome. But I do want to borrow. I realize too that a rule I tend to borrow from Into the Odd is that you all have lanterns and you all have oil.
Sure.
So, but let's test. Tell me about Pauline.
So Pauline was my mother's late friend's hunting dog, and the sword is named after her. And the dog was a loyal companion to mom's friend Lara, and apparently they were inseparable. But the hunting dog was a guide to her in her later years, when she fell ill and lost her sight, and so it helped guide her from place to place.
Okay. Why don't you, Denison, roll a d6 and tell me what you get. How'd you do there? Tell me you're muted. Sorry.
I'm muted. I'm not really meaning to say anything.
Oh, sorry. How was the d6 and tell me what you get?
Oh, I'm sorry. I thought you were talking to some.
Oh, sorry. Yeah, sorry. Denison.
I got a 3.
3. Okay. Let's make that a wisdom check then. Why don't you, check your wisdom as you hold your sword aloft. And
that's just a D20?
Yeah.
Wisdom? Okay.
Mm-hmm.
No, it's not lighting up. I got a 12. I think that means that since I'm over.
Yeah, you're over. And it does not. You feel this sort of odd sense of canine presence, but then it, like, you hear a sniffing and it sort of wanders away inappropriately at the wrong moment. Perhaps like just looking for food or whatever, and then it's gone. And you're stuck sort of lighting a lantern as Tapay digs down, and Tapay, the first thing as you uncover much of the corpse, you find that it definitely, without question, is Hiram. And his eyes are sort of open in shock and surprise and amazement. And he's the hand that had like been lifting up had just recently dropped a lantern. And you find the bits of lantern just sort of right by his head, probably just dropped out of his hand as he fell. And the other thing you find quickly, without needing to do a lot of searching, is that there's a big crossbow bolt sticking out of his rib cage. It looks like he went around the corner of the door just slightly, was hit by a crossbow, and sort of went reeling back out of the door.
I think I kind of I look up to Denison and I'm like, I don't think the cold's what did him in. I kind of gesture for him to come back a little bit out of the hall, or out of the doorway.
And it is dead dark in there, Denison, without without any source of light, as you sort of try to get the lantern going. Yelnara, what was the artifact that you were hoping that he would have?
I think it would probably be some sort of token of Zargon.
Okay.
Because I heard that's sort of something that people are into here. So, like either an amulet or an idol or something, something smallish.
Right. And one second. Could you throw a D12 for me there, Yelnara? Or sorry, I'm getting people's names mixed up. Yelnara, sorry.
That's fine. 8.
8. Yeah, Yelnara, while everybody else is still looking at the crossbow bolt, you notice that something that everybody else notices just a couple of seconds later, that his sort of pouch, or not the pouch, his kind of shoulder bag is open, and his backpack is sort of like propping him up. He landed on his backpack. But his shoulder pouch, kind of hanging over his hip, is open, and his pretty much everything seems to be gone from it.
Murder and theft. I mean, who would do such a thing to an archaeologist?
It's
I'm like turning out his pockets looking for food or anything, wine, anything.
There's a little wine in his backpack, but clearly he was also very low on food.
Ah, fool! We're gonna meet the same end as this fool.
And I think I walk over to him and sort of quietly remove the faculty ring and pocket it and say, for safekeeping, bring back to the university, you understand?
Sure, right, Pulmia.
Denison, you've got the lantern lit, and are you looking down that corridor that you were in?
Well, I feel like Yelnara gave me the heads up to maybe not be so hasty. However, I think I'm just gonna trust in my intuition that whoever took, if this was murder, maybe they went off in there in search of greater treasure or something. So I'm starting to get curious. Like, you gotta look around. Like, you guys don't think there's treasure here? And he kind of just smiles, like, wryly at everyone.
So yeah, you look. Are you sort of shining the lantern down the corridor? Or are you kind of keeping it out, or?
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah. In that lantern light, you can see where there's kind of a pile of snow, and it sort of like breaks and disappears down this sort of corridor that veers off immediately ahead. So you're going in that sort of what would have been a secret door, and the corridor is going directly ahead. And in that snow that's sort of tumbling in, you see vague footprints. A lot of them have been filled back in, so it's kind of hard to see much about them. But you see where the footprints were. And at the very end of that corridor, just before it veers off to the left, deeper into whatever the structure is, you see a crossbow pointed right at you.
Ooh, get out of the way when I realize that.
Yeah, nothing really happens.
It's probably already been triggered.
Yeah, if you shine that light back, it is an empty crossbow.
You just saw me dodge out of the way really impressively, only to realize I didn't need to dodge at all. All right, I'll creep in forward and be like, "Are you guys coming?" Like, you probably hear the crunching of my the snow under the feet, and the light kind of disappearing into there.
Yeah, Yelnara is definitely gonna follow closely and confidently behind. She's gonna be like, "Oh, are you guys afraid of like a couple crossbow bolts, a couple traps? Just a big deal. Like, who are you guys?"
I just gesture to the corpse next to us.
Yeah.
Whatever. He's not very smart, clearly. Just look for traps. It's easy.
One does not become a professor without being very smart. Excuse me.
Trap smart, You don't need to read to see a crossbow. You just gotta look in front of you. He was probably reading while he was walking. Words.
Well, you go first, Gnome, and we'll follow behind you.
Yeah, no problem. If nobody stops her, Yelnara's gonna carefully but confidently, she's looking where she's going, but she's not moving slowly, and she's not being too careful to actually 10-foot pole anything. And she's just gonna move forward and around the corner and into the next room.
So you come to the corner, and you are also right next to Denison, who has the lantern. And of course, there's a crossbow on a pedestal. Something clearly triggered it. There's some mechanism there. It's not clearly designed for gnomes. It would have gone right over your head based on the angle. And then immediately to your left, just around that bend, is a door.
Is it an open door or a closed door?
It is an open, or sorry, it's a closed door. Sorry.
I mean, is there like a hand? Does it look like there's a handle on it, or is something that like?
Yeah. There's definitely a handle. You can pull it open.
Yeah, I mean, again, taking like the quickest, like looking to be like, oh, there's no giant spikes on this door or like obvious traps. She's gonna open it.
Okay. Do you want to? Do you want to throw down a wisdom test?
Yeah, sure. Let's see. I could do a wisdom test. 3.
3, yeah. You don't see where the door could be trapped, and you're also pretty sure you don't see any pressure plates around the door. In this part of the hallway, most of the hall seems to be packed earth, and it seems to be going up onto tile just beyond the door if you open it. And you're not seeing where the handle could be trapped because it's a pull handle. And if there's something on the other side that if you open it while standing in front of it, you can easily sort of protect yourself by opening it where you are behind it. So it's you're a clever gnome, and if there's a trap on this door, you've figured out how to evade it pretty easily. And you pull the door open. The hallway was mostly packed earth. There was some tile right around the entrance, but mostly packed earth. The room you're in, or in the edge of Denison's lantern, is big. It's about maybe, it's sizable. Roughly lines up with the top platform of the temple where you saw those 3 statues, or those kind of 3 classical sort of standard deity type figures. And under where each of those would be, you're guessing, roughly under is a bronze cylinder, sort of extending from the roof about 20, and the roof is sort of ascending to a point. So right over you, it's about 10 feet high, but right around the center of the room, it's about 20, 25 feet high. And there's kind of descending from where the statue, roughly where the statues would be, is a bronze canister, kind of floor to ceiling, and there is a bronze doorway in each of those 3 canisters. Who's following Denison and Yelnara?
I would have followed behind. There's
Okay.
nothing left out there but the cold.
Right?
I think I'll take up the rear. I also was wondering if I recognize the deities.
I was wondering if any of y'all recognize the deities as well.
You don't recognize them by name per se, but they all seem roughly standard for the mountain region that you've been in. There's like sky and justice, some sort of magic and trade, and then fertility and war.
Gotcha.
Love, fertility, war. Sky, storm, justice. Those, like you wouldn't be able to identify these by name, but the iconography is fairly common to the region.
I say perhaps we should go in the direction of the grain so we can find some food.
I like the food. I like the sword less.
And these canisters are, they're maybe five feet apart. And as soon as, are you all stepping into the room?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. You know, you come in, the door sort of swings back closed, and you're looking at the three. The canisters are about 5 feet apart. Denison's light doesn't stretch much beyond the canisters. The room is just that big until it gets pretty faint. You can faintly see a far wall about roughly the same distance from the door to the canisters as the door to the back wall.
Is there a handle on the other side of the door?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. And like all of you to roll a d6 and tell me if you get a 3 or less.
1.
And that's everybody. Thank you.
Yeah, I get a 3.
3?
4.
5.
All right. So like everybody to sort of just reduce those hit points by 1.
Oh, but I had so many.
And Pulmia and Tapay, you're a really, really faint sound of like, it's not far away. It's like a tea kettle that has a bad lid sort of whistling. Like it's a very, very faint whistling sound. Everybody else, you feel a little tired, like the exhaustion and the lack of food are sort of catching up with you.
And
only Pulmia and Tapay hear that whistling sound.
And I think I moved back like very quickly to push that door back open.
The whistling sound continues, but you kind of feel the fresh air and you feel a little bit better.
And I say, first crossbows, now gas. Is this a temple or a death trap?
Standard
I'm
security.
not an archaeologist.
Yeah. Everybody's got, a little something in the front door.
Mountain religions are very strange.
Anyone who's going through this much work has things worth taking inside. So I think we make our way through this room as quick as we can before this gas knockers us all.
Yeah, Denison is in full agreement. I think he would be maybe heading forward. He's not sure what you mean by I mean, does he smell it? Is he coughing?
You can't hear that?
Lightheaded.
He's really lightheaded. Okay.
Yeah.
Listen, boy, you can't hear the whistle?
I can't. No, I can't hear the whistle. It's
Well,
where are we headed?
when we go for that other door, we should be careful. Probably expect us to get panicked and run for it. Then who knows what will happen. Large block drops on our head. That seems like the sort of thing they might do.
Where are you headed? You said you were going forward, but what do you mean by forward?
Yeah, because it's a
You've got three
pyramid-shaped room, and I think someone mentioned
there's three canisters.
Mm-hmm.
Each has a door in it.
I liked the idea of wheat. One of the pedestals has a god with wheat and a sword, a woman with a sword. That looked
sorry. As we approach those canisters and the light goes like beyond them, are there any other doors, or does it look like the door we came in is the only like wall door? The rest of
this looks like the only wall door to you. It's the only door you can see.
All right, then. So which of the three then? The one with the wheat?
That was always my vote.
And how are you? So you're just walking up to the one underneath the goddess with the wheat and the sword?
You know what? I'm going to say, well, I could always try to find the way to some food. Might take some time, though.
As are we just like breathing in this gas as it's coming?
You can feel the cross breeze just slightly out the door and out of the pyramid.
Okay.
Is somebody like holding, like, is Pulmia still holding the door open at this
point? Are you still holding that door?
Yeah.
So yeah, it will swing to if you shut it, if you move away from it.
Tapay can hold it if you need somebody to hold it while you cast the spell. But I think Tapay at this point just wants. Tapay's just like, let's just go. Let's get through. Let's pick a door, any door. Let's come on.
All right. So hasty once again. But this gas will surely interfere with my casting. Maybe you're right.
I think Denison is with you, so he'll maybe walk behind Tapay or nudge you forward towards the door. Is it a door per se?
Each canister has a door in it.
Each canister has a door. Okay, thank you. So, is it a knob, like a doorknob? Okay, so, he's gonna look at Tapay, and he's gonna look at Yelnara, because Yelnara is the one with the signature caution, and he's gonna start like motioning that he's gonna open the door.
Which door?
The wheat goddess door.
Okay.
If anyone wants to interrupt me, now would be the time, because I was gonna.
Can Yelnara just kind of do some like quick once overing on the area around, the door? Like, yeah, sure. Let's see if there's any obvious traps, right there.
I mean, sure. Tell me what you're doing.
I mean, it's like a visual inspection, so it's just like looking like over Tapay's shoulder, like, just looking at that. There's like a handle that he's pulling, or like a knob, or.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I think Denison is going to do the same.
Wait, is it Denison open the door? Or is it Tapay? Sorry, who's opening?
No, yeah, it's Tapay. I was looking at. Looking at Tapay, but I was the one.
Okay.
I was.
Yeah. Denison was the one talking about doing the opening of the door, right?
Oh, sorry. Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, I wouldn't want to make her literally move for your character. No. Yeah.
So is it Denison reaching for the door? Is that what's happening?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. Yelnara, you're just doing a quick visual inspection, right?
That's right. Yeah.
1 sec. Yeah, make a. Go ahead and just check wisdom. You want to equal or under your wisdom there?
17's over.
Nothing wrong with that door.
Is it possible for Denison to inspect it as well? I feel like this is maybe something he'd be good at if he actually cared to like give it a second thought. Seeing that like that's what Yelnara is doing, he might do the same thing and just like look around.
Yeah, because you're kind of following Yelnara. I want to have you roll at disadvantage.
Okay.
But
So
yeah,
that's just you
unless you have a specific thing you're doing, unless you want to tell me sort of a little bit more about you're doing other than just sort of following the quick visual inspection Yelnara was giving it.
Right.
So yeah, the standard will be 2d2,
and then you take the worst.
And then you take the worst.
Okay. No, you know what? I think that this is just his. Denison is not that great of a. I don't want to keep turning to the like mom's sword thing, but if he might like look at it and see if it's like glowing or anything, but then he's just gonna look around and kind of do the same thing Yelnara is doing, just like visually look at the door. But besides Pauline, the sword, I think he doesn't really have anything that he consults or any kind of special ability he falls on in this case.
Okay.
Falls back to. So I think I'm going to roll disadvantage.
All right.
Okay, so I only have 1d20 with me, but
yeah, just roll it twice and tell me.
I fail. Yeah, 19. So.
All right. Yeah, things look good. You opening it?
Yep.
Pull me into Tapay. Where are you standing? And Yelnara, where are you standing as Denison is opening the door?
I think I'm still holding the door, the wall door open.
Okay. And Tapay was moving back there to sort of relieve you?
Yeah.
And Yelnara, where were you?
I'm probably like leaning over Denison's shoulder, like pretty close to him.
Okay.
Or under Denison's shoulder, really.
And I think this is Denison. The door is a little heavier than you were expecting, or maybe it's just tighter. But you open it, and then there's some sort of grinding as it opens, and you feel a click. And then where you and Yelnara are standing, the tile falls downward and away. And I'd like both of you to check your dexterity.
$19.
19?
I got a 1.
Denison, you are hanging from the door handle. Yelnara, you can use your special ability to kind of back away. That'll be it for the day.
Okay. Yeah, I think maybe I'll go ahead and scamper free frenetically.
Okay. You scamper free frenetically. And there should be a good place to keep track of that. And we'll add that, try to add that to the you jump back and sort of land on your butt as Denison is sort of hanging in midair from the door handle. As the tile sort of drops away, and Denison, you had the lantern, right?
Yeah.
Make another dexterity check.
Okay. I believe the lantern falls, or I fail. Well, I failed the check, so.
Yeah, I mean the bad news is the room everyone's in goes dark. The good news is that underneath Denison, there is a flash of light as the lantern oil spills out onto the floor and catches fire from about roughly 10 feet below you, something like that. And you see the bronze canisters like landing on a floor in the firelight. And in what looks like an empty room, as the oil just kind of flows over this tile floor, burning. And Denison is hanging in space, and Yelnara has scampered backwards. Tapay and Pulmia, you are in a very, very dark space. Pulmia, you've got a small dab of light coming in from the front doorway into the little alcove that leads to this room. But almost not, I mean, just enough that you can see where to walk to get there. Other than the sort of glow coming up where you can see Denison dangling over a pit, you can't see much else from the room anymore. Tapay, same thing for you. Pulmia, you also know if you move away from this door, it's going to close. What do the two of you do?
I think I first say a pit below rather than a rock above. Inventive.
Also, Yelnara, as you sort of fall backwards, you fall onto a pressure plate, but nothing happens.
That's good.
Nothing happens with that pressure plate.
Nothing whatsoever.
Like you're now standing in front of that middle sort of canister, and like it's just there was a pressure plate there, and it apparently nothing's happened.
I think. Oh, sorry.
Go ahead.
I think Tapay starts cursing and is just like, "I damn hell," and starts like dives down and starts like trying to light his own lantern because he heard the fall and he heard the crash, and now everything is dark.
Yeah, a moment later, you've got a lantern on and lit, and there's a pit in the floor with a glow coming out of it. There is Denison not holding a lantern, hanging onto that door for dear life, and Yelnara kind of down in front of that middle canister, having scampered backwards from the pit in the floor, and Pulmia, still holding the door open.
Yeah, I think I say a moment, and I'm gonna walk over to where the professor's corpse is, and say, "Dear Professor, I hope that you may continue to serve the pursuit of knowledge and death," and like haul him over and use him as a doorstop for that door.
Yeah. All right. You now have that door propped open with the professor. That does cause the outer door to mostly close.
Yeah.
So you're guessing. I don't know. You make an intelligence check there.
Sure. That's a success. I got a 9.
9. Yeah, you're like, you've got a little time. The room can't fill with gas as quickly with that sort of alcove opened up. But you still need to get out of this room
Right.
moderately quickly.
Yeah, right. So
Still hear that whistling.
Yeah, I think I'll just walk back over and does it look like I could dislodge that crossbow like from the trap?
Oh yeah, I think so.
Yeah, I just pick that up and have a look at it, and I'm like, do I think I could use it?
It's a little big.
It's a little big. Okay.
You think specifically you could not. You don't know how to do something this big.
Okay, so I just sort of like lug it over to the outside door, prop that open with the crossbow, and say, okay, that's another one. Then walk back into the room and I say, well, at least we're not going to get gassed to death.
I think while Pulmia is doing that, I've taken the lantern over to where Denison is hanging, probably like standing next to Yelnara.
Right.
I'm like shouting at Denison to like, hi there, acrobat, come on, do a flip over here, come on.
Denison, you can see, like, now that the lantern's all on and everything, you can see that there's a ladder inside the canister going down.
Oh, okay.
So, theoretically, if the trap didn't go off, you'd be able to open the door into the canister and enter.
Okay, yeah. So I'm gonna mention that there's a ladder down in there, but I'm gonna be scrambling with my feet and just try to plant them to where I can open the door. Is that?
I mean, the door is already open. You're
okay.
The handle.
So it's a matter of just climbing in now.
Yeah.
Okay.
Denison's climbing into the canister.
Okay.
And getting onto the ladder.
There's I'm gonna start like kind of moving myself down just a little bit and be like, guys, there's a way down. Just watch your step.
And you all can sort of get like edge around those edge tiles towards the canister to like step in. It's kind of a weird angle, but it's not an impossible one. Is that what you're going to do? Or are you going to try something else in this upper room?
Denison could see that all the canisters led down to that room, right? Is that
right?
Correct?
Yeah,
okay.
Yeah. Anyone looking at the pit on the floor could see that all 3 canisters seem to lead down there because the fire is that oil is still burning.
Okay. Yeah. If I can reach that ladder, I'm gonna probably follow after Denison.
Okay. Yeah, I think anybody could reach that ladder now that it's sort of open. Is anybody?
I don't think I have any better options, so I will also follow.
There's certainly no food up here.
That is very true. Yeah.
Into the pit.
Well, that could have gone worse. Scary lady with wheat and a sword could have been way worse, fellas.
And I think what we're gonna do is one second. The canisters down here are sort of open. Like there's a back half of the canister, but otherwise it's not open. There's not a door or anything. There's in addition to the light, the dimming light from the lantern oil as you guys come down, which is fading pretty fast. I think Tapay has a lantern. The room down here is roughly as large as the room up there, though it has 3 doors. You can see sort of moving off, one to your, and this is all very relative, one roughly to your right and 2 to your left as you kind of come down the lantern. And crawling along the walls on one between the 2 doors to your left, one near the door to your right, and one sort of on the wall sort of behind you as you come down the lantern, are sort of 3, each one has 3, it's like 3 arrangements of glowing dots. There's like a little triangle of glowing dots, and they're moving around. There's 3 of those kind of triangles of glowing dots, and they're moving around each wall. And Tapay, once he gets down with the lantern, you can see like there's black spots with these glowing dots in them. They look insectoid.
Somebody take this lantern from me. I can't fire my cannon with it.
I'll grab the lantern.
I may get my bow out instead, not grabbing the lantern.
What are you doing there, Yelnara? Sorry. I don't know why I cannot get the N and L correct in that sequence.
All right. These guys are at they're like at 6 feet. Are they like, what level off the ground are they?
They're, it's roughly about 10, 15 feet high room. They're sort of just mid-wall, moving around. In the shadows from the lantern light, they look kind of insectoid as the lantern light moves.
Yeah, I mean, I have stones that I'm gonna pull out, and I'll try and keep my distance from them.
Cool. All right. Yeah, the lantern light, the fires that Denison dropped is slowly sort of going out as the oil just gets too burned up to sustain or to provide any meaningful fuel. But now there's these kind of big black marks on the floor, and those insectoid things are sort of moving along the wall, very agitated looking, and now sort of moving back towards each other along that sort of big open wall that one of them's on. What are you doing?
I think I'm just trying to hold the lantern up high enough to cast light everywhere.
Yeah, I think there's various pots, and several bronze or brass gears of some sort, just sort of stacked. There's some tools, just sort of stacked, and mainly just a few shelves of pots against the opposite wall, facing where you would have been facing as you kind of came down, not where those insectoid things, glowing insectoid things, are moving around.
I don't know. I feel like I'm not sure if they're going to leave us alone, so I don't want to take a shot yet. But I think I'm going to knock an arrow just in case.
Okay.
Yeah.
Get ready.
Yeah, definitely taking aim with the arquebus, but same. I do not want to. I don't want to fire. I think. I think Tapay. I think. Are we concerned? I mean, I'm concerned about these gears, but I don't know what to make of them or at all.
They seem disconnected. I mean, they're not
Okay.
like.
I think Tapay might turn to Pulmia and be like, so do you want to cast that sensing ley line magic now, Pulmia? That might be we got 3 doors here, might be.
Oh. All right.
Not sure if we have the time with these critters.
I'm just like holding the lantern out and like shaking it around a bit to be like, somebody take this for my head.
I can take the lantern if I need to. I'll kind of like hold it with 2 hands, like.
So I want to cast my spell, and I want to my spell will be direction sense, and I want to try to find a source of food.
Are you doing this pretty quickly?
I think that's going to depend on my companions and how patient they are.
As long as those glowing eyes stay on the far wall and I have my gun pointed at them, you can take all the time you need, Pulmia.
I mean, Yelnara's not going to be patient, but she won't necessarily, make you go faster.
Okay. So there's a lot of fidgeting around me while I'm trying to do the spell. Awesome. All right.
Some incense. Do you need some incense, Pulmia? I can light some incense. Help you center your mind.
And I say, no, I've got this, and I like pull out my bronze statuette. I think it's probably like a figure holding like it's probably like some kind of like octagonal object in their hands, which I use for this kind of magic.
All right, 1 second. Back up. And sorry, I'm just trying to make sure I determine where the food is.
Yeah, totally.
Should you succeed? From where you are now. So why don't you make that? Just because it's in a hurry, make a wisdom check.
Okay. So yeah, so I this is my specialization for magic, so I'm not going to have disadvantage, but I will make the check. Yeah.
Yeah, go ahead and make it at advantage because you.
Okay. Cool.
It's your specialization.
So that first one was a failure.
Wait, it's a 2. Oh yeah, you're using a focus, right?
Yeah.
Okay.
And then the second one
Okay.
is a 1, so success.
Nice. All right.
So then I need to roll the D4 to see if my statuette's used up, right?
Right.
Ooh, yeah, it's a 3, so it's used up.
So yeah, there's no more energy at the moment left in the statue
Yeah.
that you can use to focus you, but it does give you enough to not hurt from the casting of the spell. But it will not be
I think the ritual is just like I have the statue in my hands and I like kneel down on the ground and I like drop it into the ground one direction, turn the other direction, go all 8 directions around, and then when I feel the tension pulling me in the right direction, then I know I have it. So I got that 1. That's pretty good.
So as you finish, the bugs are starting to, or those insectoid things, which are starting to look pretty large as they continue to move towards each other, and now moving up towards the ceiling and starting to stand over you. The magic, though, is telling you that that door to the right, that wall that has the single door on it, it will go through there.
So it feels a little distant. It's not like real close.
Oh, it's feeling 100 feet at the most.
Okay. So I point in the direction and I say, it's through that door, not too far away. There'll be food.
And is that where you're headed?
I think I'm going to look to the other people who have been watching the bugs and sort of like...
The bugs are moving towards the middle of the ceiling to stand roughly over you guys.
Oh yeah, you're not like that. I definitely want to run for the door then.
Sort of like pick up the little statuette, put it in a bag, and just like kind of shuffle over to the other door.
Yeah, I'm gonna with them.
I'd like everybody to make a dexterity check. Except for Pulmia, you're sort of in the lead here. So, with the other 3, I'd like to have make dexterity checks.
Thankfully, my dexterity is horrible.
I did fine. I got 10 out of 12.
I
got 10 out of 13.
Got a 9 out of 12.
Nice. Yeah, they, as predicted, unleash these weird wings, and you realize there's these giant beetles with glowing stuff on their back, and they glide down towards you as you guys hustle with Tapay still has that lantern out, correct?
I think Yelnara took it.
Oh yeah, Yelnara has the lantern through the door. And you come, and this is where we're going to leave off, to a T intersection. With the hallway extending roughly just to the edge, past the edge of the lantern light in both directions. But it looks like, but you think at the far end of the hallway, there is some sort of golden statue. And before you even get to the end of the hallway, you see two doors. And if you go right at the hallway towards the golden statue, you see two more doors with slight bits of light coming out from under them. And that is where we're going to pick up next week. Thanks to everyone for joining, the audience at home. And go ahead.
Which door do I think has food behind it?
You're thinking to the right.
To the right, okay.
So we will pick up there next week.